Wow, she's already.
Hello, Global Theater. My name is Jerry Fialka. Today is January 16th, 2022. Whoa, I'm getting an echo already. So I want to thank Rob Grant and his daughter Sophia. Hi, Sophia. Thank you for hosting us on I'm Probably Wrong About Everything. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with Janet Klein. Thank you, Janet.
I am
Hi.
relishing. I'm relishing the opportunity of having a chit chat with you in the afternoon.
I love that word chit chat. And what's the location? Where are you calling from, Janet?
I am relaying myself from my home in Alhambra, California.
How cool is that? That's California. I'm in Venice, so we're both in California.
Right, you're on the west end. I'm taking up the east end.
East End. And so, what is the best thing for a human being?
Joy.
Oh, that is a great word. I don't usually
Why
get
not?
that word. That's a good word.
Oh, this is the way this goes.
What's your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Mm. Mm. Well, my husband's making eyes at me. Robert says comedy.
That's good.
Oh, but I don't know if that's what I would say. But I mean, that's the way I like to get my news lately from the
Oh,
comedians.
that's good.
They're getting me through the times that we live in. I have to say that.
Yeah.
But other than that, what would I say? Oh gosh, all I know is the people. Well, the people who gave me information, fed me growing up, were all the older people in my world, in my landscape, and getting information from them was like the best. And I look for that feeling wherever I can get it. And fortunately, I get that from some of my very smart and intuitive friends who know special things and relay them to me so I can take it in and nourish myself.
Oh, I love that breath. I have to tell you one thing about your husband too in that situation. I interviewed Paul Krasner once, the great political comedian, and every question, all these questions, the same ones I'm asking you, I'd ask him. He would laugh, then he would turn to his wife Nancy and goes, "How should I answer it?" And then she would whisper something, and he'd go, "I'm not gonna say that."
And he's the comedian. I mean, that guy's he's
Right.
he's a writer, right? So
But
you should
it fit with Robert's suggestion of comedy. But I like your suggestion as information. I say I'm asking like how the form, and you actually put it the feeling I get from elders, and that was really beautiful because Norman Klein, great L.A. Intellectual, I says, "What's your favorite form of information?" And he used an adjective instead of a noun. He said, "honest."
Oh, that's lovely.
But you'll love this. Paul Craig Baldwin, the filmmaker, and Ann Magnuson both. Well, Craig said human touch.
Oh,
Now we don't think of human touch, and Ann Magnuson said a hug, but we
yes,
don't normally think of that as information. So
right.
that's
But
it's ever
tactile sound,
yeah.
mwah, yeah. There's so many
Yeah.
ways to get it, right?
It's for the 5 senses, we're overloaded all the time with
Right.
information.
And guess what is one of my lesser favorite ways to get information?
What?
From a website.
Very good.
So often now, people say, well, companies everywhere, they say, for your convenience, you can now go to our website. And
Yeah,
that's the last thing I think of when I think of convenience or thank you very much. I can't wait to go look at the website
yeah.
because
And
it's
now
so impersonal.
they're all the same now. It's just washed off, everybody has contact, store, blah, blah, blah. But anyways,
Yeah.
I love your website. I recommend people go to your website. I think it's cool. And it's
Oh, it's
colorful,
antique.
It's graphically beautiful. But why do you think humans collect or gather information?
Wow. Oh, you know, I'm thankful that they do. And,
That's
because there's nothing better than a library.
oh,
And
yeah.
and, just that we make those kind of places, and of course, books are something I love, I mean, the keeping of information, and it means that it's important to you and you wanna share it and you're invested in making something and then putting it out there, which, in the world right now that we're living in, I mean, it's a little like, what was that? I'm not gonna remember the name of the movie, but it was something like a Shangri-La kind of a thing into the future, or a place where everybody's really happy, but they discover that the books are just turning to dust in some warehouse.
Yeah.
Anyway, is there a terrible futuristic idea to think that the 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 places where we put our special information are get devalued? I would hate to see that. And the thing about the internet is there is so much information, but it piles up in heaps of worthlessness.
Yeah.
And to get things curated, I know for that I because I help make books still.
Right.
And a lot goes into that. There's editors and there's designers and there's the content that gets whittled and everything, and then it takes money to put the things to create it, to produce that physical thing, and that in a way is already a way that you're getting something curated. All these entities had to come together and make this object and make a bunch of them, a lot of them, because they thought it was good. And,
We like books. We like books.
we like books.
And we also like what you brought up as archives, people can actually, especially getting to be our age, where you can all your stuff that you collected in all your archives, your masters to all your albums, get a like I got Santa Barbara College to take all my archives. So everybody should do that if they feel it's valuable. But this is the last information question is, do you think this need or want to collect information is more innate in humans or more invented by humans?
Ooh. Well, I'd never heard of an ant library, let's say, and they're so industrious. Maybe they pass it on. Well, you know what? When you mentioned about how do I like to get information, I love oral histories,
Yeah.
when or like I said, getting it from your elder, which that's probably what the ants do. No, but anyway, I don't who knows why we do these things that we do. That's one of my feelings about where modernism kind of takes us, where it's that idea of form following function,
Yeah.
and it's paring away and getting rid of the decorations, let's say, and the extra foofy stuff. But to my mind, when you look at everything in a museum, what's there? It's things that humans have made, and then they decorate it and carve it and do things for very what reason is that? It's the reason why people make art. They can't help it. It's not necessarily function. It's beyond function. There's the spoon, and then there's engraving on the spoon and the shape of the spoon and somebody, or all those things. And that's not information really. It's the extra it's the thing and the function and the information, and then it's I don't know what that is. It's the
Well, that was good.
effervescence.
You actually evoked what you do sometimes with your parlor salons, is that you teach the history by talking live on a Zoom. And I think that's important. So do thoughts create emotions?
Oh boy, sure. Do thoughts create emotions? Let's see. Or what else? Yeah, where do those come from? Well, I guess they come from everywhere, right? Like the information coming in through your pores and everything. Your what you get, what you're thinking about in here and everything around you, right? That's all the stuff that goes into your emotions, all your little sensory business, right?
Well, that's good. You answered a question with a question. That's what this series is all about. You win. So the next question is, how would you finish this sentence? I don't know what I think until I
Do you ask everyone these questions?
Yeah,
These are set
pretty much
questions?
it's pretty much
Wait,
scripted,
wait,
so
wait, wait. I don't know what I'm thinking until I have done it. What?
that's good. I don't know what I think until I do it. That's fine. We'll move on. All this stuff comes full circle.
Ooh,
You've already
I don't know
anticipated.
what I think until woo, hopefully some synapses have snapped. I don't know. Then I think. Then I do
Yeah,
it.
no,
I
that
don't know.
that's fine. Can humans think without language?
Yes. Absolutely. Thank goodness for that. Oh,
Chomsky
I
says
like
that
thinking in pictures.
Yeah, well, you anticipate another question coming up. So, but Noam Chomsky says language is not just words, it's culture, tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. What do you do when language breaks down? When language doesn't work, what do you do?
Hug somebody.
Oh, I had that answer. That's one of my favorite. The guy said a couple weeks ago, he says, group hug.
Yeah.
Group hug.
Yeah. I know, I was thinking about that just this morning, how broken things feel right now,
Yeah,
where people are just kind of going tribal, like, "I'm in this one, and I'm in this one," and then they yell at each other, and, I think, wow, that sort of is telling us I think this language thing is really breaking all over the place. How do we glue some of that back together and get more respectful interchange? See, I mean, I think if everybody had a little booklet of these questions and went around to anybody, that could start some really good conversations. I think people need to be kind of kicked off their rocker a little bit or something. Oh, I
that's
think
a
you just
great
wrote.
that's a great statement because the 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 fun thing with this series after 40 years of asking these questions is I find patterns.
Mm.
And then you see how basically everybody is like Eden Abe's song, Nature Boy. They want to love and be loved in return. I mean, that's the bottom line, you know. But we have these tools. What do you think, Janet? Are your observations of humans, are they more feeling beings or more thinking beings? I know it's both
Mm.
and it depends, but just in general.
Well, I think the thinking gets us into trouble. But of
Yeah,
course, we need it, we can't help it, and there we are.
yeah.
But if we, there's so
You know
many
what?
ways we could improve.
Yeah. You know what Bridget Bardot says? I
Oh.
don't think when I make love. It's like, good luck. You think, what's
Ooh,
the most sensuous thing a human can do? And your brain's thinking, it's like, could you please turn off for a
yeah.
second?
I am so I I love the feeling of turning off stuff. My
Yeah,
father used to say that. My father was an artist, and we both also really loved music, and he would say, "I really wish that when people encounter art, that they would just turn off the the talking mechanisms and a lot of their regular thinking things and let it wash over them like music.
Yeah.
Because there are certain things, loving interludes and music that do wash over you. And hopefully you can quell all the other stuff. I love magic also, just because I am so ready to give it up. Let me
Yeah.
just turn it all off and just watch and be amazed, because that's of course what a magician is trying to do. He doesn't want you to sit there thinking about how trying to outsmart him or something, or him or her. They want to make the magic and let you let go and
Yeah.
enjoy the things that don't make any sense to your senses.
That's
And it's
beautiful.
quite a good thing.
These are two questions from Alan Turing, 1950. Is thinking a function of the soul?
Wow. How did he answer that? Did he?
That is a great question. I don't know. I think he was of the ilk that he was just probing that question.
Say that again.
Is thinking a function of the soul?
Ooh, ooh, that's great. I think, right, it's a yearning to get there, to find your soul, to who is this? Why is this? What? And then you're thinking that's how we're made this way, humans, right? And
Yeah.
what I love about religious feelings is that no matter what religion or what your thing is, we're circuited for it. Look at every culture on the planet. We have that mysterious uh, question, and we seem to, we have that. What a strange thing. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
no, it's
really part of our makeup, right? So maybe the thinking, it's our questing towards finding the indescribable soul part of the whole situation.
it's the
Being
commonality. We share that. It's amazing. The second Turing question is, can machines think?
They're making them do that. I mean, when did he ask that question? How long ago?
1950. It's many years ago. Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Beats
so
math.
onward and upward. Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
Oh, I want both really bad. I want both really bad.
That's good. Let's
I'm
move on
questing.
because this stuff will come around back. Does the brain more detect consciousness or create consciousness? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're detecting it, or are we actually creating consciousness?
Whose question is that?
Well, I get all these
Oh.
questions from various people. You know who I got a lot of my questions from, by the way? You'll love. Do you know? Remember Christine McKenna? She wrote for the LA Weekly, and she
Wow.
asked. She really got me started on all these questions. I'll tell you when I get to hers. That one, I'm not sure where I got it. Probably Alan Watts. Probably.
Oh,
I listen to him a lot.
wow. Yeah,
I
I
just
bet he would say that there's consciousness in everything. Would he say that?
yeah, it could be yeah, that we more are detecting it. We're not creating it. Yeah. What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
Oh, my thought, light.
Yours, you
Oh,
like poetry, and I'm glad
fun.
that's we talked about poetry once, and
Oh,
we're gonna get into poetry, but I'm gonna quote a poet, Audre Lorde, right now. She says, "You can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools." Yvonne Rainer, another dancer and poet, said, "You can if you expose the tool." What new tool do you suggest, or what new tool do you like?
that's such an interesting question. Wait, but what are we trying to open?
Well, here's the thing, when I start a question with a cute quote, you don't have to apply it. You put all the questions into the context you want. So I say, Audre Lorde said you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. So then Yvonne Rainer says, "Oh, well, you can if you expose the tool." So I just added, "What new
Ooh.
tool do you like, or what new tool
Ooh.
do you suggest?"
Ooh. Wow. Well, you know what I really love?
But
I love chance. I love,
that's
starting with some tool and then seeing what happens and letting something fall through the cracks, or I
that's
really like
beautiful.
I like chance to slip
Yeah.
in with the
No,
tool.
you get it, because see, people will say intuition or, the internet, but it doesn't. New implies it's new. Chance isn't new, but it's a tool that you like. Now, I followed it up. I just started
Mm,
this one.
mm,
What new
mm.
toy do you suggest?
Bubbles.
That is a great answer.
You know, yeah, it was a long time ago. Well, our friend Buster Fitzpatrick, who had Asperger syndrome,
Yeah,
uh, I love neurology, just uh wow, just how the brain works is
yeah,
just so startling. And and well, I remember reading an interview with somebody who had autism, and they said, somebody asked them, "Well, what's your favorite thing to do?" And they said, "Crystal chandeliers." And it's just that, it's like bubbles.
yeah,
It's everything's there. I mean, you could get lost
yeah.
in a
No,
bubble.
I love that. That's beautiful. Are you more afraid of old ideas or more afraid of new ideas?
New ideas. I'm done.
Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever or one of them?
Woohoo. Oh, I have thought about that before. Ooh. Uh, mm, mm. I I remember, um, I I remember putting a toaster cover on my head. And
Nice.
and carrying a little bag and, like, going pretend grocery shopping in the cupboards. I really do remember that.
That is beautiful. Is
There's
memory more
evidence of it, but I do remember that, and I
is
mean, I must have been 2-ish or so.
no, evidence is the worst thing. I mean, it's like, well, that's why I use the word conjure, because people say, "Well, they told me my earliest memory." You'd be amazed at how many people say it's some visual thing in their crib looking
Oh, that's good.
light. It seems to be visuals the dominant sense that we
Yeah.
remember.
Right.
But
I do remember too that I seem to remember that I had a television set in my room that was white. I don't know if I'm imagining that, and the dial was like this big.
is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
Oh, blessing, 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 blessing. I love memory. I live for it.
Now,
Whatever.
you've covered this a little in your previous interviews, but we'll just do it briefly. Tell me 2 parts within your immediate family and then outside your immediate family. Someone who had an impact on you, had like a role model,
Oh,
and what specifically was that impact?
there's so
I
many.
know, but just let's narrow it down to one inside your immediate family and one outside.
Oh my gosh.
You got a lot of questions to cover here, Jan, and
So many. Oh my god. Well,
you've covered this.
so many in my family and out of my family, but my dad was wow. quintessential. I mean, but also there's so many others too. But my dad, he was just in my part of my world and my the way I took in information about art and music and just who I wanted to talk to about it all. And it was kind of a tea ceremony growing up of him, opening up the squeaky cupboard that was the record player cabinet, and going there at night into his studio and putting records on, and he'd be puffing on his pipe, and it just the kind of having music in between and then talking and then not talking and just sharing that environment. It is so good. It's so good,
He kept
and
music
I
fun
keep
as
it
a
with me.
say
What's
it
that?
again?
I
Well,
keep that. I keep all of that with me all the
yeah,
time.
but it seems he taught you that music is both sacred and fun.
Oh yeah, and endless, like the endless wormholes of life.
Yeah.
Like, the visuals of the packaging and the record itself and the music and the content in it, and then where does this lead you? Who wrote this? Who's playing this? Where is that from? Yeah, that's it's just when you have that kind of experience, it's just you're so lucky, because it gets you started wanting to do that all the time, and that's it leads me everywhere.
That
Every
was well done. How about outside your immediate family? Early role model.
Early. Oh, early. Mrs. Giovando, my 3rd grade teacher.
What did you think of her?
She was so interesting, and she didn't treat you like a child, and it was like the first time, I realized, wow, I could do the work that they asked you in the classroom. And then just if you're interested in sassy, then you could finish this and then go shelve library books for fun. I mean, I don't know. There were just so many as far as an early non-family role model. Oh, man, and then I'm sure it was not you weren't supposed to do this, but she gave a few of her students, like, little gifts. Like, I remember she gave me a really beautiful index card file box, And, anyway, I don't know, but
That was
I
good.
really dug
Oh,
her.
that was beautiful. And so did your parents raise you a particular religion?
Uh, yes, although I'm Jewish. But they always seem to be having some well, my mother, I think, was always having a disagreement or something with the rabbi. And so sort of in there and out of there but I felt very culturally Jewish. So
Yeah.
I felt really grounded with that. But my dad also loved science and science fiction. And I think he was atheist, and that was okay too. And so I got a little bit of all of that. And then growing up in San Bernardino, California, where there was a very small, very tiny Jewish community. So you sort of felt like you were in some other kind of microcosm of other people's religion, but it's interesting.
Janet, do you pray?
Probably not in a very well, yes, in a overall spiritual, speaking to the heavens and everything in it, kind of. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I have a
If
talking to myself thing.
if God exists, what do you want God to say to you after you die?
Whoopee, wasn't this great? Wow.
Now that's a word I've never heard anyone say. God says whoopee. That's a good word that God should be using. Do, do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
Oh, wow. Wow. I don't think in Judaism they talk much about evil. really, except there's always these tribal issues. You're always getting beat up by somebody, but they don't actually. I don't know. I didn't get a whole sense of religious evil.
Yeah.
Um, I just tend to think, oh, we're so fragile and the world is so messy. And, I feel terrible that the people go down these twisted routes to be so messed up that the world looks like hell to them,
Yeah.
that they play it out in these, in evil ways.
Yeah.
This, yeah.
This is a perfect follow-up in that how do you deal with an enemy? How do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But this one I'm going to set up with a few modern thinkers' thoughts. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the mob and the samurais. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. So it's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is, how
Wow.
do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But how would you first respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
I like that. I feel like when you give oxygen to bad crap, you are fueling the fire.
Yeah.
And that's why I mean, that runs really deep for me because I feel like, ignore, like, don't give that the time of day. I don't want to put my brain on that. I don't want to interpret things the way you're interpreting things, this enemy kind of force. Because I just feel like, hey, I'm really a gentle soul, and I don't want to abuse anybody or anything. I don't really want to tell anybody how to be or whatever. But I don't want to take trash in. I'm very susceptible and spongy and empathetic, and I can be a mess of emotions, and I can be fearful of really bad power stuff. But I don't want to give it oxygen. I don't want to go there. I want to make more good stuff. I want to empower all the great people that do great things every day and make positive and give me more positive joy and all of that. And then those folks, I just want to turn on a dime. I mean,
I like
I
that.
don't know
Did you
how
get
that's
that?
fighting them now, but
Oh, that's beautiful. Do you think you got your positiveness, your positive attitude more from your parents or more on your own?
I think I made mine. I might be just wired this way, but I made my own.
Yeah.
I really did. I call it. I have a name for it.
What's it called?
Bumping off the curb of your discontent.
Oh, that is good. The
It's like it's easy to
curb.
know. It may not be easy to find the happy. It may not be easy to know what you want or what you need, but you can start by bumping off, like, what you don't want.
Yeah.
No, I don't want that. I don't want that. I know I don't want that. So it kind of keeps bumping you in some other direction, which helps you find the positive.
You
Yeah,
anticipate a question.
if you're like me.
Yeah, but no, that's beautiful because you anticipated a question when we get into music. But first, let's go a couple more of these. James Joyce was the first movie theater projectionist and owner in Dublin over 100 years ago. He basically checked out. He said, "This is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree?" Years later, Faulkner said sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to
Mm,
recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of
mm,
people acting like
mm,
us? Why don't
mm.
we just live life?
Because we need to be kicked in the butt. We need to
Now
be reminded and get it from somebody else's angle and see what they made out of it or what, and they're gonna like your questions, they're gonna bump you off your little chair and how nice is that? It's so nice to be asked unusual questions, and it's like that's what all these movies and pictures and everything that we entertain ourselves with. There's so much that's everything. I love the stories that get told. But that's why I don't go for a lot of stories they're telling these days.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dystopian stuff. I don't know where that what
No, I
I don't
agree.
know. Well,
Like every movie poster has a gun in it. It's like, give me a break.
exactly. It's like, "Excuse me, is this a movie or is this an advertisement for the gun people?" Oh,
Guns, totally. It's just
love
like,
and guns. So sexy. Ugh,
it's like
God. I would run the other way fast
so
as I
let's trace your a little a couple tipping points because there's two. What first attracted you to writing poems and then what first
can.
attracted you to being a singer? I mean the tipping point. So your dad's raised or your parents are raising you with all this great music around you, art, appreciation for the graphics. And really, you're an artist like a graphic designer, so it's threefold. What was the tipping point where you said, "I'm gonna be a poet, I'm gonna be a graphic designer, I'm gonna be a singer?" Like the tipping point where he says, "I can do that."
Mm, mm. Oh, well, I'm I'm always like I said, I'm always doing that bumping off the curb thing. And I've always, I think I was very secure in art. I grew up with it, and I think from being a little kid, I was like, "I'm an artist." And, I didn't have to decide on that. But what do you do with it is the question, and how do you like, I have an endless yearning to communicate something, to express something. Partly, your questions about language and words fail me a lot. And so I really and then there's things I wanna communicate in life that it's like my secret philosophies. I just wanna do it. And I see that and also I'd see I'd see things around me where I think, "Why are we doing this?" People, this is sort of it just doesn't make sense. There's a lot of things that you have to do, a lot of structural things. And I thought, well, I want a life that's full of music and art. And where are people the happiest? Look at them when they're dancing. Look at people when they're dancing. Look at people when they're singing. They look really good right there. This is for real. And I know when I started doing poetry, it was because I really wanted to sing. I really wanted to. I wish I could be like a Cole Porter or something, play piano and do all this stuff for people and bring them in and be my friends and let's do that. But I was never encouraged as a kid to sing much. I didn't think I had much singing voice, and my piano playing was terrible, really. And it's like, so poetry was my way of being a ham bone and expressing myself. And in my secret heart of hearts, I was being my Janet Klein of Cole Porter. And it really made me happy. And I knew when I got to college, I learned about performance art. I thought, there, I can be it. I could be it in some way. And so I pictured myself with a candelabra and a music stand and a fancy dress and there I went. And so I did that before I knew anybody would ever let me sing.
That was really good. Let's stay on performance art for a second. Who were you seeing, like Rachel Rosenthal,
Oh,
or what performance artists were kicking you over like that? You were like, yikes. Anybody in particular?
yeah. Well, when I was still at home before I went to college, my dad was an art teacher for high school,
Yeah.
and he was always collecting videos and things. And there was Peter Campus, and
Yeah.
oh, the guy with the dog who was really charming. I forget what.
William Wegman. Yeah.
William Wegman, yes. And so I saw them first, but I was thinking they were video artists. And then when I came to LA for college, I kept experiencing more uh, performance art. And at the time, it was a little like punk rock or something, because it was like Chris Burden was crawling through glass. I mean, that was sort of before my time, but his influence was
Oh yeah.
definitely there. And so it was about, I realized, oh, it's about something else. It's like walking into a room and not knowing what is going to happen. You're sort
Yeah.
of part of the story. They're going to not just do a theatrical thing like a play in front of you. It's you're walking into some kind of somebody's idea of an experience. And so, and I did, and Rachel Rosenthal was very
Yeah.
intriguing, and yeah.
No,
So
that was good. You named some people I was fishing for. That was beautiful because this is who influenced us in LA, and they were rightfully so amazing people.
yeah, it
And
was
Chris
really
Burden is so Chris Burden's so misunderstood, and you see the documentary on him, and it really susses out how important an artist he was because people think, oh, you got shot for a piece of art. That's stupid.
right.
So then what kicked you over to be a graphic designer? Graphic artist. I mean, I know you're growing up appreciating Maxfield Parrish or whoever, these beautiful artists. But when did you go, I can do that? Like, did you go to art school and study graphic design, or you just, what kicked you over?
I always thought, I was an artist. I'm a painter. I'm a drawer. And then but then also, my parents they were sort of instilling a certain kind of industriousness, and so if I'd like to make gifts and make functional things and sew things and make things that were could work also, and I also had a little business as a kid making personalized stationery, and so I worked with a printer, and so I worked with printers kind of early on, and I really grew to love magazines. And I realized when you open up a magazine, they give you everybody's name and information that works on that thing. And there it is, right there. You could call them up and look at what a small staff it takes to produce something so polished and interesting like that. And so I started to call magazines when I came to LA, and I got little working gigs just by being curious that way. And then it sort of came from all of that. And my graphic design teacher at UCLA told me point blank, Janet, you're a talented girl, but stay out of graphic design.
Ah, God. Have you ever has that teacher ever seen your great graphic design now?
Well, he's since passed, but even before I left college, I was the art editor for the Journal of the Arts, and I did the design for it, and I was really proud of it, and I think I was a really good art editor. I mean, a lot of the people whose artwork I put in there went on to be real
Yeah.
artists, and I'd put it in his inbox.
Nice. Well, you could have included the great Jean Cocteau quote. He said, "Whatever your teacher or your family or your friends criticize you on your first piece of art, use that and exploit it for the rest of your career." Isn't that a great tip? It's like, don't hold back. I love I am obsessed with magazines. I go through like 10 to 20 newspapers and magazines a day,
Oh
and it
wow,
is
you got
an
that.
amazing art form. It is such a great art form that is still alive. It doesn't matter how much computers take over, it's still like now we have a computer magazine. So it's still hard page. So a screenwriting teacher told me great art is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Stanley Kubrick says the opposite. Great art or great film is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your creative process?
Mm. Well, I have good intentions. From there, and then from there, uh, yeah, from there it doesn't matter much. I mean, I like to just make a little time bubble, a warp, or a little atmosphere, a little something for somebody to step into my bubble.
Yeah.
They don't have to know why I created this bubble. I mean, I need it. I need it bad. But the thing is, I just want to make something
Yeah.
alluring enough. Come in, come over here. And I love art like that where, listen, there's art that's so conceptual and it's so about, what the artist
Yeah.
wants you to know from this or something. But but I really feel like I need it to be alluring enough that I want to know more. And I'm perfectly willing to go, great. It may take me years to get something out of this that you want me to. I may have to read up on you for a while, this artist, to know where they're coming from and what are they trying to do there. But if it's not alluring to me in some way to get me in, then I don't know. It doesn't even know what matters if it doesn't lure you in somehow, you're not going to get the intent. And even if you do get the intent, if you weren't that interested to step through that door, then what's the point?
Some beautiful words there. I love it. Alluring atmosphere. It reminded me of Auden, the poet, said, "The mystery of art is that we don't know if it activates or pacifies us."
Mm,
So it can pacify us. That's not bad. It can activate us. That's not bad or good. It's like it's just like putting you into a time bubble is great. But Duchamp said there's no art without an audience. How much are you
mm,
thinking of your audience when you're making your art?
mm, mm. I was just thinking. I was just thinking about something because we just went through the holidays and all that. I was thinking, I really like to give something that I enjoy making a lot. So if I feel like I'm making something and I'm really excited about it and I really love it and I'm enjoying the whole process, I feel like, oh, this is I love every minute of this and now I want to share it with you. And I feel like I can't go too far wrong with that. I
Yeah.
don't try to second guess what anybody's going to do with it because I really follow my own little love thing. And then I want to hone it as best I can or whatever, or just blurt it out and share it. But I need it to be something something really that I'm going to feel great about, special and enjoy being with it. It's sort of to me like part of the artist license is what do you want to do with your time and your art license? And why wouldn't you do everything to make your life what do you want to be doing right now? Don't, why torture yourself? Like do something that's so great, yummy, what you want to be doing with your time and then share it. Why not?
That's beautiful. My friend saw David Lynch's film Blue Velvet, and he says, or she said, "Yeah, I know it's probably a good film, but I don't want to spend 2 hours of my life with those people." Do
Right.
art?
There's all that. I mean,
Yeah,
and thank goodness people make art in different ways and
yeah,
for different reasons because that's much more
right,
interesting. Every can't do it my way. It's just,
right. No,
but
it's
you
good.
should consider that if you're an artist.
Yeah, but it really begs: do artists have a moral obligation?
Oh, wow. Oh, I hope so. I mean, I think you have influence when you're making art, and if anybody's interested in it, and I hope they're not coming from an evil place or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But a lot of artists want to. I think they, you know, and maybe rightfully so, they want to punish somebody. Like you need to wake up. You need to be wrestled down or something. I mean that I don't know. I don't think that's sort of my approach,
Yeah.
but
Well,
everybody, woo, you know, art is a great refuge, and it's such a
beautiful.
great way of communicating, getting experiencing a point of view on the world through somebody else's vista.
Yeah.
It's that's so great, and I'm willing to go places with artists. I really, I appreciate that. Even people, I mean, even things that are way off for me, like what this is the last thing I would have imagined or what I know about, but that's so great,
I love
just
your choice of words. There's some great words you said there, refuge and vista. But there's another thing McLuhan said that everything we invent extends some humanness. So, like clothing extends our skin, knife and fork extends our teeth, the shutter in a camera extension of our like eyelid, and maybe philosophies like extension of consciousness. What does the ukulele extend for you? What humanness?
oh, what a nice way of putting all that. But the ukulele is a very philosophical instrument because, I mean, now, of course, is a ukulele explosion. I don't know. But when I started, it wasn't a normal thing to play that little instrument. And I used to say, gosh, people's expectations are so low. They look at this thing, they think maybe it's a toy or something. And and so they don't know what to expect. And then it's like so quiet. Like Ian Whitcomb used to say, it's got a pleasing plangency. and
Yes.
and it comes to you so quietly, and yet you can say big things with that little instrument, and you can say it clearly, softly, and catch people unawares. And it's not a symphony, it's not complicated, it's so simple. And it's so personal, and I think every person that plays that thing, whoever you are, will pop right out from behind it. What you choose to do with that simple thing. It's like an egg. What are you going to do with that egg?
Yeah.
Well, you could paint on it, cook it in many different ways, throw it at something, whatever. But how great is that?
It's almost like what I'm feeling is you're saying the humanness the ukulele extends is simplicity.
Yeah. Yes.
It's
Yes.
really a great see the human senses that seems complex, but there is a simplicity to it. So what do you think the motive of the cave artist was? Not what Herzog put in his doc or what anthropologists have theorized, but just your hunch.
Mm. Yes. It's storytelling and decoration and information, and I mean we can only guess. Uh, but what an amazing thing just to draw. Wow.
Yeah.
Paint on something for purpose, for storytelling, for no good reason.
That's good. One guy
Oh,
a
love
couple weeks ago, I said, "What's the motive of the cave artist?" And the guy said, "To keep people in the cave." It's like, "Come over to my cave. Okay, now I got you in here. Don't leave. Look, there's like it's a big screen TV. Wow."
right. That's funny. I know because it's safer, to watch a herd of, some, big animal from looking at it on the cave
Right,
wall than it is walking outside the cave and encountering.
right.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
this is a
nice.
question. This is a question I started with 40 years ago from Chrissy McKenna. What's more important, conviction or compromise? I know it's both and it depends, but just your hunch.
Wow. Oh, oh. I just say a big loop de loop of all that.
Loop de loop. That is good. That's like a Mobius strip.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
a loop.
Because you can't have a compromise without having a conviction that you have to like back off or
Yeah.
change your mind or listen. Right. Yeah. You kind of have to have both. And then they go, and you rewind and forward.
Good rewriting noise. Well, you got to hear my two favorite answers was what's most important? What's more important, conviction or compromise? The guy goes, depends on what you mean by important. But this is
Yeah.
Roy Zimmerman's
Good.
kids. They were like 8 and 9 years old. They were little. I goes, what's more important, conviction or compromise? They went, those words are too big for us.
Best answer. Great.
So you've accomplished a lot. In
Oh,
your
good.
accomplishments, how do you rate these three elements? What plays the most important second and third? Luck, skill, and ambition. Where do you rate those
Mm,
three?
mm. Well, uh, yeah. Well, my skill sets are, and well, I admit to enthusiasm being my fuel, and luck and ambition. Yeah, I would call my ambition energy,
Yes. Good.
and luck is there. I mean, whenever you get to do something creative, you're lucky because if you weren't lucky, you'd be in survival mode and you don't have time for, much time for playing around with ideas and art things. How's that?
That's beautiful. T.S. Eliot said poetry is outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
Mm, mm. Wow. What? Wow. Wow. Uh, mm, wow. Ooh, that's so interesting. I like, I think when you're dreaming, that tells you a lot about your inner dialogue. And mine, it's visual big time and sensory and babble
Oh,
and then
nice.
trying to make sense out of the the babble. Right?
That's beautiful. This you would love her films. Abigail Childs. I says, "What language is your inner dialogue in?" She goes, "I wish I knew." At least you knew it was visual, sensory, and a babble. But it is funny because it's this nonverbal because you didn't take it literally. When I say, what language is your inner dialogue in? People
English.
go English.
Yeah.
Then I go, well, what form is your inner consciousness in? So I follow it up with what I'm really fishing for. So is perception reality?
Mm. Oh, ooh. Ah, yes. Squishy, but yes.
Swish. Squishy. You really got you're a poet. You are a poet, especially because Shannon, I love how you make noises and you take the deep breath. I interviewed George Carlin's daughter with all these questions just a couple months ago, and every time she would crack up, then she would take a deep breath. And I see you're doing that. You take a deep breath.
Interesting.
You like conscious breathing is hard to do in a normal life. We don't sit around and consciously breathe. So really, that's what this is, like a media yoga session. It's trying to get people to consciously breathe for a second, you know.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
I love
you. Ooh, this is it. It is. This is like really fun exercise.
Yeah,
I
I
really
love your
like
word
it. I
squishy
like
though.
this.
Squishy
I
is fun.
because
It's
it's like how many times? I mean, you've got so many. You're playing the badminton game, and it's not. You're including so many other thoughtful people's words and ideas. I just that's fun.
good. I'm glad you like it. Actually, Fred Dewey called it, it's like we're playing ping pong.
Yes.
Squishy ping pong. So a couple film people I'm really influenced by, one of them's mantras is ignore yourself. Jonas Mekas says there is no self-expression. And the great jazz pianist Cecil Taylor said, I'm just a vehicle and this stuff just comes through me. So I know it's both and it depends, but is art making, music making, poetry, graphics, is it more self expression or more you're a vehicle for whatever culture or technology is dominant?
Ooh. Definitely has nothing to do with technology. It's for me, it's just a yearning for I don't even know what. I'm not sure what, but whatever
That's the mystery. The yearning for
the
the mystery.
yearning
Yeah,
is, it just takes me there, and I'm happy for the outlet
yeah.
to do it in public for some reason. I really enjoy that. I
But
really enjoy it.
can art making be egoless?
Mm, oh boy. Uh, yeah. Well, huh. That's a good question. I mean, in certain ways, just making art is such a nice. I mean, look at crocheting or sewing something. That is not an ego thing. It's that you just get lost. And
Beautiful.
so I think it's the ping pong game between your ego and getting lost.
That is good. Was Freud right?
About what?
That's the right answer. You answered a question with a question. That's what I was looking for. Lewis Carroll said, I believe as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Have you believed in any
That's nice.
impossible things lately?
Oh. Oh, well, I like that a lot. Sure, you bet. I
Tell
mean,
me,
just
tell me
eating
one.
breakfast and have, with your husband and a cat. That's really ridiculous right there. It's so good. It's just
There
like
you go.
it's like the Alice in Wonderland Tea Party or something.
That's it.
I don't know.
Tell me one major element of your creativeness that's changed since you started and one element that stayed the same.
Well, I have to say, thankfully, okay. See, for instance, my dad was an artist, and he just made things and painted things, and it was just I just thought that if you're an artist, that's what you do. And it was sort of a shock to me that it was a career, that it was you needed to market it somehow or all of that, and that was very disappointing in a way. But I make the best of that. I figured out ways of sort of, I don't know, twirling it out there so that somebody would be at the other end of it. But the thing that was the most rewarding and surprising is I also thought that you made art by yourself, and that's what that was all about. And that the when I started to come out with my ukulele and the music, and I realized that this was whole thing that I could do with other people, like-minded people, that it kind of was this little sound that drew some other people to me, and then suddenly I thought I was all by myself with a certain kind of thing that I loved and the old music, and then ding ding ding, and then wow, I keep meeting more people that I just want to know. I want to play with them. I want to work with them. I want to know what they know. I want to collaborate. The collaboration, it came as a surprise. I thought, if you're going to be a musician and be in an orchestra or something, yes, you're in. You play a part. But with art, I always thought I'm creating something, and it's my big idea, and I got to do it and say when it's done. And anyway, so the collaboration aspects of getting to make art with other people is amazing. And I
Yep.
still feel like me all the time, as part of it, making art. But the additives of getting to work with other people is wonderful.
Boy, and you've had some amazing collaborators. I'm really impressed. And your the beginning of your answer, Janet, was beautiful because it reminded me of a joke. The little kid finds out that their parents go to a job and make money. They start to learn the concept of labor and getting paid, like you were saying. And the kid's dad is an art teacher. And so he says to his dad, "What do you do, Dad?" And he goes, "I teach people how to draw." And the kid goes, "You mean they forgot?" Isn't that great? It really resonates with McLuhan says that the Balinese have no word for art. They do everything as well as they can.
Oh, wow.
Isn't See,
Wow.
that's what I think you sort of learned from your dad was you just do art. You don't like, "Oh, you mean I can get my art in a gallery and get paid?" You just do it because you love it and you have this impulse.
Yeah. Well, not that I'm the greatest success with
Hey,
no, but I'm enjoying the process and my life. So that's a
that's
prize. And I get to
that
share it. I mean, I have enough people interested that it keep that
you
it's
have a lot of
working.
faithful fans. I know a lot of your faithful fans, and I'm one of them. I took my mother to see your show, and she
Did?
loved your CD for years. Oh, yeah, she loved it.
Oh. Oh, who
Yeah,
I want to know who your mom
we
was.
we love we love you, Janet. So here's the next one. Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength rather than we're taught to overcome a weakness. Tell me a weakness you turned into a strength.
That's great. I really believe that. Well, yes. Well, I honestly, shyness turning into like an inner shy that you just want to not have. Like I don't want that. I want to share. I want to be out and uh, out of my quiet, like, oh, I can't say that. I don't know what. I want to open up my heart and have places to do that and ways to do that, and 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 yes, and my musical skills are so limited, and I do it anyway. And so my motto from the get go on playing old songs was that even if I blow it, even if I don't do it that well, I'm not so accomplished. I'm doing a public service just by sharing these things that I think are so wonderful, and they don't get heard, and they could just turn to dust, to be lost with time. And I'm spending my time finding things for my own treasure hunting, and then sharing it. So I think I'm a poster girl for having, maybe not vast technical talents, but I do it out of joy. And somehow it works. Somehow it works.
It works really well, and I think you've helped nurture this community, especially in LA, because many of our friends are the icons of this 20s and 30s and this sound that people might think is retro. And indeed, what I found in this community is that it's rooted in the old, and that there's many ways it can go. But my friend calls the three T's of music: technique, theory, and taste. So technique is, you can learn how to strum the chords on the ukulele. You can learn the second T, theory. You can go, this is A, this is a B chord, blah, blah, blah. But taste, how does one acquire taste?
That's a great question. And you know, the secret for me, I do I don't know how I got my sense of taste. I call it have, your chosen genetic code. Okay, because to me that's what poetry is. That's what the whole thing is the collection of all the things you admire and all those influences. The people out there, famous people or the not famous people or people in your family, or all the things you love. That also is you. That's your secret code, and nobody even needs to know that. But that is you. It's your fingerprint. And so, for instance, I love it when it comes out with friends, where, like with Ian Whitcomb. I'll never forget when he was showing me a music video he did in the 60s. And I was watching this with him, and he was singing a song. It was a very professional music video with all these go-go girls around him on the beach, and he's strumming and he's singing and being, so such a cute boy. And all of a sudden he drops down on one knee and keeps going. And I was thinking to myself, God, that's so dramatic for what he's singing right there. And just at that moment, he nudged me, he said, "You see, I'm doing an Al Jolson thing right there." And I thought, see, nobody would know that.
Right.
Nobody in the rock and roll, they're watching this rock and roll video, they don't know that, but that's his inner thing. And so, right, so you have all those inner things that you love, and it comes out through your faucet, and it's going to be whatever it is, but it's the secret trail of all that is so yummy. And I think that's your taste is in there.
That is super.
It's
It's like
collection.
forming that aesthetic. People hear the genre of music you're playing in it right away. If they're younger, they might not get it, and then they might. And so the only way they're going to be able to attempt to even get it is being exposed to it. And the thing that Ian said is totally, we're standing on the shoulders of giants. And like Umberto Eco said, the whole point is, can we look farther or take it farther? So he took, being a pop star in the 60s, and took some Al Jolson and shoved it in there and took Al Jolson a little farther. But it didn't matter if people knew he was doing Al Jolson. They were like, wow, he's dramatic, you know. So he took his roots, incorporated his roots to add a little. He Wiccan recognized it.
Yeah.
Ian recognized it.
I know. It's a great mystery. Like almost anybody you admire to try to figure out where they come
Yeah.
from. What were they reading? What made them that way? Because some talents, it seems like it just came from another planet. Like where? What?
But
How
I was so impressed
originality?
when we first talked, you said you were, starting in punk clubs doing poetry. And then I read some of your interviews and you mentioned Don Van Vliet, who's one of my heroes, Captain Beefheart, and you mentioned Jimi Hendrix, and even your dad listened to Frank Zappa. I was like, what? And
Yeah.
it's beautiful that you integrated this, into your sensibility, informing your taste or your aesthetics. But I'm curious, Janice, what's the function of music? What
Did
did
you hear
what did
that?
Albert say?
From behind the curtain.
What did he say?
Feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it's like taking a bath, right? Music is the best. It's the
Yeah.
best. And how great. I mean, what would you do if you didn't have any music in your life? And I think that's part of what's not working out so well these days is there's not enough live music that just is like the period that I love. We all talk about it. Look at how much work there was for musicians because in every restaurant, nightclub, hotel lobby, uh, in the orchestra pits, in the movie theaters, there was a lot of live music reverberating out there, and it wasn't assaulting kind of music. It was this great wow music. It's like the real soundtrack to that time. I can't get over it. Listen to those old radio shows from the 1920s and 30s, and you go, this was the sounds in everybody's living rooms and kitchens and everything. How great is that? This is feels good. It doesn't get much better than that, honestly. I That's why I am perpetually flipping out over this time period. And maybe, it's like depression era, and but they did a good job at putting out things that were uplifting, and maybe, times are tough. Why
Well,
not put out
but
uplift?
it's interesting because one of my best friends who I've met on Zoom in various reading clubs and discussion groups, he lives in Austin, Texas, and he likes to go and dance. And he's very cautious at this point because the COVID's like roaring away. And so he's not going out dancing and he just wants to know. He looks up recently, like 2 days ago, there's 50 to 70 clubs in Austin open doing live music.
Yeah,
So there is places where people are celebrating live music and dancing. And
right.
this goes perfect with this next question because you might recall this woman, Ruth Draper. She was one of the great uh, performance artists before they call it performance artists, doing like one woman shows. And she said this amazing thing. She said, the key is to bring the audience up onto the stage and into the scene with you. It is they who must give you even more than you give them in the way of imagination and creative power. It sounds great, but how do you accomplish that? Because I've seen you do that at
Yeah,
live shows. How do
yeah.
you do
That gave me goosebumps. I like
it?
I like that. I like that statement. Love. It's just
Yeah.
love. Love, right? I mean, I think, well, part of my shows, part of the entertainment going on is that I will never get over it. I will never get over how happy I am to have found these people that can help me make this music.
Yeah.
and that I found people who want to be there. And look at I'm showing you. Look at these people I found. Look at this. God, this is so good. And I think people that come to our shows, they get that. I think they get it. I think that they feel it right back, and they're like, jazzed because of that. And that's a funny musical aspect. It's just a funny one for my little world circle. I mean, for more sophisticated musicians, obviously there's something else going on. But in terms of what the relationship with the audience is, it really is like a big group hug of joy, because it's like you can look at it. It's like a miracle sometimes, that you can make things happen. Anything collaborative, just you have people coming, you put, well, one of my secret mottos is that if you want to do something or share something or say something, maybe just let it out. Just whisper it to somebody. And I really feel like as soon as you let it out, there really are forces out there. Like people want to help you do
Yeah.
that thing. They do. And but it's so easy to keep it in and be angsting and everything else. But I think it's there. I don't know.
It's really it's really good. Even Andy Warhol sort of reiterates that. He says, "Don't worry about what people think of your art. Just keep making it. You know, just keep like your word, whisper it. Even if you don't yell it, whisper it." That was a good word again. You're great with words. So, how do you find peace of mind?
Deep breathing. uh,
Conscious deep breathing. I agree.
yoga helps a lot.
Yoga is one of
Yoga.
mine. Yes.
Oh, mm, yeah.
Okay, we
I'll
could
leave it
just
there.
got about we just got about 8 more minutes, so this has truly
Oh,
been
this is
enlightening.
fun.
Here's a
It's really fun.
couple more. Can you forget to die?
I am so into denial. I am absolutely into denial. Like, it's like thinking about, the number of your age. Like, I can't remember numbers and I don't want to.
Yeah,
And if it's like, if you feel good, don't count. And maybe I could forget to die.
beautiful. If you
I like that.
Janet, if
Ouch.
you were walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
Oh. Oh. Interesting. Oh, and meaning just as a stranger, or to go back and look at yourself and go, Janet, don't worry. It's gonna be good.
Well, that you put in the context you want. I could tell you a
Oh,
couple answers that I got in that regard, but it's basically either way, whatever way you want to put it. You're walking down the street, you meet Janet Klein as a 12-year-old. What would you say?
oh, oh. Oh. Oh, well, 12-year-olds. I'd say it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Don't worry. So there's a long, long, winding road. You got so much time, and woo, world's your oyster. I don't know.
Beautiful. Which way should toilet paper come off the roll, over or under?
I do not care.
All right. If a publisher was to release your autobiography, just off the top of your head, what color would it be? I mean, excuse me. What's the title? If
Oh,
a publisher was to release your autobiography, what would be the title of your book?
obscure, naughty, and lovely.
Ooh,
That's
they
my
want to,
byline.
that's good. They want to scent the glue and the binding. What smell would it be?
I'm in. Oh, that's it. They don't scent books very often, you know.
I know. See, you're a publisher, like people, they usually, well,
I wouldn't
anyways,
invest because those are made by 3M. The smells, that they do for
yeah,
scratch and sniff or something. It's like
yeah.
I wouldn't invest in that.
Okay.
Most of those smells are not so hot.
They want to, the publisher also wants to have the color of ink,
Oh,
not just black. What color would you have other than black for your type?
for the type.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'll tell you because being a printer, as soon as you introduce color, then you can have all the colors you want to design with. Pretty much, unless you're printing letterpress,
Right.
then, but but in general, if you introduce one color into the production, then you have CMYK or something, which gives you a vast array of color to use.
See, I rarely talk to professional publishers. Okay, let's move on. Tell me something good you never had and you never want.
Something good I never had, and I don't want it.
Yep.
Wow. Uh, a French Normandy castle.
That's good. You never had it and never want it.
Yeah, I
Okay,
don't
we just
or
got
they're cold.
yeah. Well, we just got a couple more here, but first I'm going to ask you 5 quick Alan Watts questions. So just off the top of your head in like a couple words.
I
Who
just wanna do
started
this all the time, Jerry. I really like this.
Oh, yeah, dude, I like to do it, like, 10 years later, you do
It's
it again, but
fun.
I'll do it with you
It's
every,
fun.
2 years or whatever.
I gotta watch your shows and see what people
Well, it's
say to these
fun to just
questions. Jeez.
it's fun to, juggle what other
Mm.
people say, but it really is just like my mom said, "Can I ask you some questions?" She goes, "Yeah, but the way I answered today, I might answer them different tomorrow." I goes, "That's okay. I'm not holding you to this."
Oh.
Okay, here we go with the 5 Allen Watts. Just quick, off the top of your head. Who started it all?
Well, I just did a surrealist game last week, and somebody asked the question, "What day is it?" And this was one of those chance things, right? So where
Yeah,
so someone answered the question without knowing what the question was and just chance put the 2 together, and the question was, what day is it? And it said sometime after the Big Bang,
nice.
and that was just chance. So, not that that really answers it, but it's like saying
That's
sometime
good.
after something like the Big Bang.
You know, at the end of their lives, Frank Zappa and Captain Beefheart were talking, and they both watched the PBS documentary on the Big Bang. And Frank says to Don Van Vliet, says, "What was before the Big Bang?" And Don said, "The Big."
Love that person.
Okay,
Wow.
second Alan Watts. Second, here's the here's here's the second Alan Watts question. Are we going to make it?
Oh, oh, that reminds me of the George Carlin routine about saving the planet. And he had saved the planet. We can't even take care of ourselves. So, and when you asked about saving the planet will be fine. It's just the
Exactly.
human beings that are.
I agree with you. Okay, where do we put it?
Anyway,
Third question, where do we put it?
Oh. Well, if you could do that move like the portrait of Napoleon, you know how he's got his hand in his jacket. If you could do that only under your skin, it's like
Oh, nice.
that's
Almost
where
like a kangaroo?
I'd put it deeper in there.
All
Deeper than a
right.
furry pouch. Woo.
Deeper than a furry couch. That a
Pouch. You know, they
pouch.
have
Deep
that's a kangaroo
deeper
technique.
than a furry pouch. That sounds like a Susie Williams song.
Yeah.
She's always looking for lines to write a song with. We'll tell her
Okay,
that
you
one.
can have that one, Susie. Do what you will.
Okay, 2 more quick Alan Watts. Who's cleaning it up?
Oh. Oh, wow. Really? The hard workers.
Oh, and last one is it serious?
It's terminal, right?
Wait, what's terminal mean?
Uh, well, no, I like the word serious. It can mean different things, but usually, well, is it serious? Yes.
Okay.
And and of course, that's our condition is terminal, right?
And it's
There's
I
no
can't
way
wait.
out of this
Right.
other than that. But who knows?
Yeah, who knows is right. Okay,
Mhm.
that's
Okay,
Fats Waller. One never knows, does one?
do one.
Go on. I always get it wrong. Sorry. Thanks
No,
for
we're using grammar.
I
It's
know
more fun
Brad
not
K.
to use grammar.
Yeah, Brad K would correct me. One never knows, do one. Okay, last 2 questions.
Oh,
This
oh,
has been so fun. Thank you so much.
oh, I
What's
this
the
is
what is the cultural shift you see developing today that's impactful to you?
well, I wish I could say something positive, impactful, but I have more trepidation than that, I'm afraid. Uh, I think, wait, did you say what kind of shift?
Well,
Technological?
I call
Cultural?
it
What did you say?
cultural shift. I'll tell you
Oh,
the
cultural
problem with
shift.
this
Okay.
the problem with this question is I used to word it this way. What's the healthiest cultural
Oh,
shift you see
oh,
developing today? And then everybody thinks I'm talking about eating good food.
oh,
By
right.
healthy, I
We're
mean
looking
like a
yeah.
it can mean eating good food, but I mean just in general, any
Mm,
shift you see
yes,
developing
right.
today that's positive. That's
Yes.
good or healthy.
Okay, good. Uh, yes, one is that look at this thing we've got. Look at this. We can be like this is we didn't have to drive across town for this to sit in the living room together in one space.
Right.
This is amazing. I
Oh, it is.
really yeah, this is great. This zooming ability because you know more and more it's not easy to get geographically from one place to another and it's limiting because you can't but now you can have this conversation that feels pretty living room to living room. It's just mine and yours. And we could include somebody from Paris. You know, we should do more of this. I love that. And the basic amazing thing that people of our generation have witnessed is you don't have to go to an encyclopedia to get your information. You can look things up so easily and it's on your phone. You know, you don't have to take that trip to the library. You know, you have to even turn on the computer. You got it on your phone. There's so much that you have at your fingertips. Anything you're curious about or interested or you want to try to fact check a little bit, you know, that's unbelievable. It really
It's
is.
really resonates with me totally because one is I could watch your grandfather, Marty Klein, on YouTube before I started this. That's amazing, you
Yeah.
know? And then the first thing you said was really good because, Aretha Franklin said it best years ago. She goes, "Who's zooming who?" So, I've done events
What
for
did she mean by that, though?
well,
Oh,
you
the
can read
time.
into it. You
Oh.
can read into it what you want, but I just love the resonance it has because
Yeah,
I've had live events for 40 years where people sit in a room like at Beyond Baroque and we talk and have discussions or reading clubs or show films or play music or poetry. And my events for the last 2 years have been on Zoom, and
yeah,
they're better on Zoom than they are in live. And I don't diss being in a room with live people. I love that. And it's cheating because I can still ride my bike to the beach every day and see my friends live, but everybody's more attentive. And as we get older, they don't have to drive like
yeah,
Bradley Bob doesn't have to drive from the valley to come to the meeting. He can
yeah,
just sit there and
yeah.
people
Yeah,
pay
that
more.
transportation part of everything
Yeah.
is it's daunting, and I'm happy not having that as the prelude to everything.
And
The
how
parking.
about
God,
right. And
just
how
get to
about
the good stuff.
your parlors have taught me so much about American musicals, about animation with Jerry Beck. I mean, that
Oh,
those are like really fun
oh,
tutorials that
oh,
you can do live. That's what I like too, is the live aspect, you
yeah,
know,
right.
because okay, last question, Janet. Thank you so much. It's been super fun.
Fun, Jerry.
What gives you the most optimism?
Hmm. Uh, love wherever you can find it. It's
That's awesome.
everywhere. And nature
That's
and love, right?
I love that. Love wherever you can find it. So everybody should be seeking.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah. I'm writing that one down. That's a good one.
Oh. Wow,
Okay,
you're
Jen.
you're collecting a lot of good. You're you know who you didn't quote today? Who's one of my
Who?
favorite all-time people who you're kind of reminding me of Studs Terkel.
Oh, I love Studs Terkel. I
He just
love him. I got to shake his hand once. He's a big influence. He did this. He did many, many interviews.
where are his interviews, by the way?
Oh,
Do
you
you
can
know?
find him online. Yeah.
Are they
You can
like just
oh yeah.
like radio
They're
things
in
they did or
they're
I,
in
I,
books. They're in books, but there's a lot of them that are taped and they're online.
Mm,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, that's so great. It's like the time capsuling of everything. Like what you're
It
doing
yeah.
is sort of another set of time capsules, like what he did. And
Yeah,
I
and
I
you
I should look it up.
yep,
Can't.
and you even said there's a lot of people who've done this, like, they have a huge archive. Elliot Mintz is sort of like a hero wannabe because all he just interviewed everybody and now they put him online. So a lot of mine are online, but it's really because of Zoom. I've been able to interview so many people that for 20 years I've been trying to interview. And it's like, when I get to your town, can we arrange a time? And I don't really like to do them over the phone, but over Zoom, you can get eye contact.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
And
It's great.
yeah, and so
That
I do like when you come back and do it again, then you compare how your answers change. That's fun too. Yeah. Like Mike Kelly, I did 10 years apart twice, and then I was about to do him again, and
oh,
then, and it was like, "No, you can't do that. We gotta do our 3rd interview in a year."
maybe on another plane.
That's what I wanna do. I wanna,
I'll have to
hire
do
a
it in seance form now.
I wanted to hire a psychic. Yeah, that's what, Jeffrey Valance, I've been wanting to interview him for like 20 years, and we just did it last week. And he told me he had a show or an event in London, and he hired 5 psychics or whatever you call them, psychics. and on a stage, and then he let the audience ask, like, Frida Kahlo, Pablo Picasso, Duchamp questions. So each one of them were, what do you call it? Channeling a great artist.
I
And
love Jeffrey Valence.
I
I'm
know, and then at the end, he said,
sorry.
the
Wow.
event turned into the artists started arguing with each other. But I
I
said,
love that
you know,
guy. Wow,
I
what a I
said
like
I
his
wanted
mind.
oh, his art is
I
great. It's
love Jeffrey.
intervention art. In infiltration art is what he calls it. But he's really a great artist, and he really knows what he's doing, and he doesn't like really have a product to sell. It's like, what do you sell, you know? But he does. He's successful, and his book's going to come out about his life. But I said, well, I've been wanting to do that third Mike Kelly interview and have like 5 people who knew Mike really well and ask
Oh,
them,
there you
yes,
go.
and he goes,
Oh.
I said, "No, I think we should do it the psychic way and hire a psychic." Uh,
I maybe both. That would be fun to
both
have,
would be
like, people that knew him and they have their interpretation of how he'd answer something, and then try the psychic and see what happens. I think that
I
sounds
would do
fun.
I love the whole
Wow.
process,
Wow. I
because
like
why
that.
not?
That sounds
Just
fun.
because, you know, uh, Krasner said it best. He says, "I only believe in reincarnation in one of my past lives." Anyways, thanks a lot,
Oh,
Janet. This has
wow.
really
That's
been fun.
great. Oh, thank
Namaste.
you so much, so much. Mwah.
Mwah. Love you.
Thank
Okay, I'm gonna hit
you,
the
Jerry.
goodbye button.
I enjoyed that immensely.
Very cool. Thank you